Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are doing a reading vlog, and as you can tell from the title of this video, we are going to be reading books that are part of a series I've already started in hopes that I can finally finish some series, because I have a really bad habit of reading the first book in a series, enjoying it, but then not immediately picking up the second book, and then I just never finish the series, and then I go to pick up the second book and I've just forgotten the whole point of the series, and I feel like it can ruin some plot lines, some really good series, because I'm just not as attached as I would be if I just finished them within a reasonable time span. So I have 2 books on the go right now, and then I'm hoping to finish 3 books within this video, but I'm not sure what the third book I'm going to pick up yet is. But the first book that I'm listening to on audiobook, I'll put a picture up here, is Only a Monster is the first book in the series. Never a Hero is the second book in the series, and that's the one I'm going to be listening to. I read Only a Monster, I think, only a couple months ago, so it's actually not too bad for me. I still remember the general plot of it because I haven't read that many books this year, so I am getting to this quite soon. I liked the first book. I think it was interesting just because of the whole timeline changes. So basically, let me explain what the series is about. There's this girl who her mum's side of the family are monsters. Basically, monsters are people who can take time from humans and use that time to time travel. But when they're taking time from humans, they're taking it out of their lifespan. So say someone only had 6 months left to live, and a monster came and took 6 months to time travel, that person would drop dead because they've drained their lifeline, kind of thing. And our main character finds out that she's a monster, and then there is this character called Nick who fights monster. He's like the human hero, and he kills her family. Basically, that's the start of the first book. So then it's about our main character going back in time to try to fix that and try to bring her family back. I can't say how the first book ends, which means I can't talk too much about the second book. The problem with these videos is you have to be really vague about what you're reading, because obviously if people haven't read the first book, you can't spoil the second book, and the end of the first book was crazy and it changes absolutely everything in the second book. So I can't talk about what I'm reading in the second book, but I believe I don't know, I'm listening to it, like I said, on audiobook, so I'm actually not sure how far I'm in. I think I'm on chapter 7. So we've only got the premise right now, the setup. Again, she's being thrown in the absolute deep end, and it's with a character you wouldn't expect her to be with in the second book. So it's very interesting seeing their dynamic because she knows things that he doesn't. And it's also interesting because there's another character that she spent a lot of time with in the first book that we've seen very briefly in the second book, and that I feel like a lot of people are going to want to see more of, but their dynamic has completely changed as well because of what happened at the ending of the first book. So it'll be interesting to see, because they haven't actually interacted yet. She's seen him from a distance, but they haven't actually interacted yet. So it'll be very interesting to see when they interact, because I'm personally, it's kind of like, it is a love triangle. I'm personally rooting for them. But I mean, and I'm sure most people are as well. It's really hard to describe, but hopefully if you have read the first book and the second book, you know who I'm talking about right now. But basically, I'm rooting for the guy who has blonde hair in the love triangle, if that helps anybody. But they haven't actually interacted yet this book. And the other love interest is being super nice, and I do like him, but obviously he doesn't really know what she knows, and I don't think he would be as nice if he did know the whole truth. He definitely wouldn't be as nice if he did know the whole truth. So it's kind of like They're trying to get you to like him, but you have to take it with a pinch of salt. And the other book I'm currently reading is Thunderhead, which is the second book in the Skype series. The series is actually something that I picked up like a year, maybe 2 years ago, so this is quite bad, but I left it for so long. I'm very seasonal reader, and I actually couldn't tell what kind of season to read this in. It's currently spring, and it's just not a spring book, but I had an idea for this video, and this is like the first book I went to when I had the idea for this video, because it's just been sitting in my bedroom just like taunting me for so long, and it's a 3-book series, so when I finish this I won't even be done with the series either. But basically the premise of the first book is that the Thunderhead is like kind of AI, but like really big and like innately good. Like there's nothing bad, it can't make the wrong decision. I mean, there's always an argument, but the Thunderhead is like AI, and it's in a futuristic world where this Thunderhead has eliminated all threats. So the world has been restored from like climate change and all of those things and wars and everything that's happening right now. But they have also eliminated deaths, but they haven't eliminated births, which means obviously we're going to get overpopulated really fast if no one can die but people can be born. And like you still only have limited resources in this world. There still needs people to die. And the Thunderhead is very much like they still kind of want to emulate what life was like before everything was fixed. So they still want deaths, they still want, because without the knowing you're going to die one day and experience grief and all those other human emotions, I feel like without a time frame on emotions, we just don't feel them. Like, if you were standing here now knowing that you could never die, you probably wouldn't do much with your life because you have no sense of urgency, and you would just probably walk through life feeling like a zombie because every day would probably feel the same. You wouldn't feel any intense emotions because there's like no time frame to those emotions. Like, I feel like we fall in love so hard because we know that we could lose that person one day, and like, you know, our relationships and our life are what they are because we know we're going to die someday. So Thunderhead still wants to keep that part of humanity, so they have this group of people, I don't really know what to call them, called the Skyfes, and they go around gleaning people, and they are supposed to pick randomly who to glean. They're supposed to glean nicely and appropriately, and they do have rules. Like, if it finds out someone has been like gleaning only young kids or only old people or only like a specific like ethnic group, obviously that's turning more into serial murder vibes and prejudice. So then they'll be like, you can't do that. Like, it has to be random, and you can't have any prejudice towards any single group because that's not how death works. If it was natural. And in the first book, we follow Citra and Rowan, and they become Skyfe apprenticeships. And you have a year to complete your apprenticeship, and if you complete it, then you become a Skyfe. But they had this sort of issue within the book, which I can't get into in case you haven't read the first book. But now currently, this book is set after their apprenticeships. And in the first book, we find out that some Skyfes really push the rules. Some Skyfes, as a Skyfe, you're not supposed to enjoy cleaning. You're supposed to do it because it's the right thing to do, and you're supposed to do it kindly and humanely. In the first book, we find out there are some Skyfes out there who enjoy cleaning, which is basically, in our world, murderers, you know? If to put it very, very broadly like that. So in this book, it's still following that idea that there are some Skyfes that are corrupt and the system isn't really working the way it used to, and some gleanings aren't following the rules they are supposed to. I think it's just very interesting. I don't know how to categorize this book because I feel like some people would say it's sci-fi, some people would say it's fantasy. Like, I don't know. There is an element of romance, but it's very, very small in case anybody was wondering. So I really don't know, and it's a very hard book to explain, but it's so interesting, and it does make you think, especially when you get the point of view. So the Thunderhead, which is like this AI thing, he can talk to everyone, he can give everyone advice. I don't know why I said he. I don't know why I said he. It can talk to everyone, it can give everyone advice. The only people it can't talk to are the Scythes. It's not allowed to lead the Scythes in any way because it knows the Scythes have the most power in this world. So if the Thunderhead was leading the Scythes, then it would be seen as immoral. But that means it also can't stop the Scythes from doing immoral things or doing their cleanings in a way that doesn't follow the rules. But it's also this book kind of so far has tested the limits of what the Thunderhead can do, because it can't closely change somebody's actions, but it can kind of nudge people in the right direction or turn a blind eye. And I think that's definitely what we're exploring, how the Thunderhead is supposed to be innately good and not supposed to interact with the Scythes at all, but it's interesting to see how it can kind of make its way around that when it comes to what the Thunderhead wants. But it is also nice, and I'm scared to say this in case it does change. I do see the Thunderhead as innately good. So far, nothing, because you do get little quotes from the Thunderhead, like that, at like the end of each chapter, mainly. And so far, nothing that it's said I've seen as like, oh, the Thunderhead might not be like the best thing to reign over this new world. And I don't want to see AI as like a good thing, but this is AI, but not the AI we live with. But I'm also scared to say that because just the mistrust everyone has in AI in our time period. Obviously, this isn't set in our time period or our world, but I just get scared that it's suddenly gonna like turn evil or something. But I don't think that's something in this book. But we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. Those are the two books I'm reading right now. Okay, so it's later on in the same day, and I have reached page 250 of Thunderhead, which means I'm halfway through. I'm very much enjoying this. I think it's so interesting to see kind of, because we do touch on corrupt Scythes in the first book, but I think it's very interesting to go deeper into the corrupt kind of system that is building, but also what the Thunderhead thinks about it, because obviously the Thunderhead is kind of overseeing everything, but it's not allowed to interfere with the Scythedom. So seeing kind of what the Thunderhead does within its abilities as kind of an overarching AI figurehead, whatever you want to call it, is very interesting and also brings up a lot of questions about AI nowadays and also about society, because we've also been introduced to these people called the unsavories, who, even though the world is quote unquote perfect, so there is nothing to technically be mad about, the unsavories still find a reason to riot against the system. And it kind of explores the idea of people who always feel like there will always be people who feel like they need to riot against the system, who feel like there's something wrong. It's just like in their blood to riot. And it's interesting to see how the Thunderhead allows these people to have the freedom to riot and express their opinions instead of just shutting them down, which it could so easily do. It's very interesting to see that it still does allow freedom in this world, but it also explores the boundaries of the freedom that Thunderhead allows the people in this world, and whether it's fair that in a perfect world people can't do exactly what they want. There are still rules. Like, it's kind of discovering the idea of, do we need to have rules to have a perfect world? Or would a perfect world be a world without rules? And also, like, even in a perfect world, why do some people still end up being evil or having destructive tendencies. Like in a perfect, because they don't have mental health things. Like they have these I'm actually not really sure what they are, but they can tell when you're at the starting stages of depression. They also can turn off your pain receptors, and they have healing nanites, they call them. So if you get hurt, it won't. So if say you fell off a roof, you wouldn't feel the pain because they would turn off your pain receptors straight away. So you wouldn't feel the pain, and then your healing nanites will come and they'll heal you, right? So technically perfect. And also with mental health, they find out when you're at that starting stage, and they can change your brain chemistry so you no longer feel like that. So if you're at the start of depression, they can go in, change your hormone levels, and you just won't be depressed anymore, basically. So it's very interesting to just get to know more about the world. I feel like there's a lot of world building because we're in the second book and there's still world building going on, which is kind of crazy. But that's just because there's so many questions to like ask and think about when you're presented with a perfect world. But is there such a thing as a perfect world, or will there always be people who have the feeling to do something evil, to do something destructive? Like, will everybody ever be satisfied at once, or will there always be people who aren't satisfied? It's really hard to talk about as a book because it's so like you can totally take it on surface level, but if you're reading this and you're not taking it at surface level, it gives you so many things to think about, which I think is great, but they're also really hard to talk about because it's just like kind of the existential thoughts you have. No one really wants to face them, but they're kind of polarizing in this book, and yeah, I'm having a really good time. I'm excited to see how this one ends. I know there's a third book in the series, so it'll probably end on another cliffhanger, but I'm excited to see the progress that our two main characters make in this book. Okay, I've now finished both the books and I've decided to only do 2 books for this video. I will probably do another part to this series because I have so many book series I'm in the middle of at the moment, so I might as well just continue until I'm up to date with everything. But I decided just to do 2 books for this video so it doesn't get too long, so this will be my final wrap up. So let's start with Thunderhead. I think this book had a crazy ending. I think it sets up really nice to book 3, but also in a way of I have no idea where book 3 is going to lead because I don't understand how we can come back from the ending of book 2. Like, it kind of just breaks everything down right at the end. Like, you have a little bit of hope, and then the last chapter you just lose all hope, and I just actually have no idea how they're going to come back for it for book 3, but it makes me really excited to read book 3, so that's good. I think my favourite part of the book was actually the addition of the unsavouries, which I talked about them earlier. They are people who still riot against the system and riot against the Thunderhead, even though it's a quote-unquote perfect world. But I think what I forgot to add earlier is that the Thunderhead doesn't communicate with these group of people, the unsavouries. Once you're labelled unsavoury, you don't have communication with a Thunderhead. And I can't say why it becomes such a big plot point at the end of this book, but I can see how it's going to be like a massive plot point going into book 3 because they like introduce it at the start of this book, but then it just gets bigger and bigger and more like developed as the book goes on. So very interesting. And then obviously the other book I was reading in this video was Never a Hero. I was actually listening to it. The audiobook was very good. I listened to it on Audible, and I really enjoyed listening to it. It was interesting to see like more of the monster court and like the king that rules over the monsters, kind of that side of it, because we don't really explore that too much. In the first book, he's mentioned, but he doesn't have any sway to he doesn't really have any sway to the storyline in book 1, but in book 2, the king is a lot more prevalent, the monster court is a lot more of a prevalent point, and it shifts the entire storyline. So it was very interesting to add that aspect along with the different timelines. It's a lot of things that is kind of explored this book, and it's also set up very nicely for book 3. So if you have read the books, I would say that I'm still rooting for the blonde love interest. If you've read the books, you know who I'm talking about. I just think he's the best one for her, especially because of her history with the other guy. I just don't see how that could work, but I think the blonde guy, it seems like it works between them, and I would love to see them together in book 3, but I guess I will find out once I read book 3. Maybe I'll do that in my next book video. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see any more book content from me, reading vlogs, wrap-ups, anything like that, or if you happen to be an F1 fan, please stick around. Thank you for being here.